The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. We want to wish you Lashana Tova for those of you who are celebrating Rosh Hashanah this morning, and Happy International Peace Day for those of you who are celebrating that. Want to give you a little programming note that is, I think, something really remarkable. If you visit the UN's Peace page today, you will see that they are streaming for 24 hours today messages of peace and hope and togetherness and unity from dignitaries, scientists, artists, world leaders, people that are speaking from their heart about what the message of peace is from their area of the world. And we're really excited and thrilled that Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh was asked to participate in that. So right now, if you go to the UN's Peace page, you can see all the videos that are playing there. And if you want to, on our YouTube page, Dr. Granpeesheh's message of peace as it relates to autism is there and live on our YouTube page. So I hope you'll check it out. We have so much respect for Dr. Granpeesheh, and we were involved, of course, in the filming of the message, and we think that it's a very powerful message. So I hope you'll check that out. We also want to send our love, as we said yesterday, to our friends and family in Puerto Rico, where I was born. And I know it's devastating right now, and I cannot even imagine what all of the people on that beautiful island are going through. But then on top of it, what our autism community is going through in Puerto Rico. And we heard very distinctly yesterday, I believe it was the mayor of San Juan, who was saying, please don't forget us. We are not going to forget you. Please, when you have power again, know that our thoughts and prayers are with you, and please be writing to us and letting us know what you need most, and we'll find a way to figure that out, right? And of course, our prayers are also with everyone around the world, from the earthquake victims in Mexico City. Devastating to watch that footage. I know we were all moved and distraught by that, but also by the people affected by fires and flood. It's a crazy time right now. So those of you who, like me, are feeling like a little bit of gratitude today, let's remember to be grateful for the small things. The other day when I was having a hectic moment and spreading some dairy-free margarine on some gluten-free toast for my son at 6:30 in the morning and going, oh, my life. And I was thinking, boy, you know what? There are times when I would have been thrilled when things were a little crazy to have been saying, oh, I'm up at 6:30 in the morning spreading some dairy-free margarine on some gluten-free toast, right? Puts it all in perspective. Okay, having said that, we're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. We hope that we can give you some information, some inspiration, some hope for your journey along the way. We welcome you if you are a part of this autism community, and we believe that that includes parents, teachers, practitioners, and of course, individuals who are on the autism spectrum, whether they be 3 months old or they be 103, right? That this community is certainly a diverse community that can sometimes be divisive. That was not the word I was going for, but since it sprang from my lips. But there are some things that we can all agree on, and that's that individuals who are on the autism spectrum have a right to a beautiful, wonderful, peaceful world, and to all the help and support that is available. And we're trying to help make more of that available to more of you. So we hope that you'll participate, because sometimes you guys know things that I couldn't possibly know, right? And sometimes you have a question that maybe I do know somebody who knows the answer to that. So Samantha's going to show you some of the different ways that you can participate. While she's doing that, I want to remind you that we are live in a lot of different varieties. We've been having some issues with Facebook Live where we've had to delay it a little bit, but it's still been there. And we are on Facebook Live this morning, so we want to thank Facebook Live for working that out. But we are also live now on Periscope and Twitter, in addition to our homepage, which is autism-live.com. And of course, we're always live on YouTube, which we love. When you go to our homepage, though, it's got some advantages that the other sites don't have. If you use our live feature, which is just to the side of where the show is playing, if you put your cursor in the box that says your comment, all you have to do is type and hit enter. You don't have to log in. You don't have to be a member. There's nothing to be a member of. You don't have to have a username, a password. You don't have to do one of those bot checks to make sure that you're a human being. I never can figure those out. And in any case, it's all free, and we don't know who you are. You have total anonymity. So when you write in your question, the audience cannot see who you are. And sometimes we need that, right? Let's just be honest about that. So feel free to write in on any of our platforms. We try to get to as many questions as we can, and we don't get to enough. I'm working on that. But in any case, we do like to remind you that we've got a big show for you today, and we always have experts that are here on the show and people that have information that can help our community, right? And a lot of those are experts, but I always like to remind you that I'm not an expert. I'm a mom and I'm a former teacher, and a little bit later on, I'm going to be talking about something where I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I have more than a decade of experience in the classroom and dealing with challenging behavior in the classroom. And we're going to do a little autism in the classroom later on. And I will say this, I'm not an expert, but man, I walk my talk in the classroom. I will say that. And that's something I know a little bit about. The rest of it, I don't know so much about, but I'm in your corner. And I care deeply, and if you give me an assignment and say, find out about this, I'm willing to try. And it doesn't cost you anything, so how can you beat that? Okay, but don't confuse me with being an expert. Having said all of that, my friends, it's Thursday, so it's time for the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out, what are they talking about? What are they talking about? And why did they use those terms? And I don't know what it means, right? And if you don't know what it means, one of two things is going to happen. At some point, you're going to miss something that was important, or you're going to have to take the time to figure out what it means, and that can be really hard. So we try to give it to you a little bit at a time, one word, one phrase, one acronym at a time. We give you the actual definition, which I always love to poke fun of when possible, and then we give you the working definition, where we try to get down to brass tacks and go, what does this mean to you today? Hopefully that's what it works out to be. And we love your response to jargon of the day. Now, this is our jargon term today is one that we did fairly recently. Samantha reminds me, but I felt it was necessary because we're getting a lot of questions with school starting and IEP questions. And so I always like to go back, and some of these words you're not going to get the first 12 times, right? So there are some that I like to recycle and hit it again, because maybe the 12th time you go, okay, now I got it, Shannon. Some of these I'm still getting my head wrapped around, but today's term is FAPE. I got to go the other way. No, I had it right the first time. FAPE, which that's FAPE, which stands for Free Appropriate Public Education. Let's take a look at our actual definition. And it is free appropriate public education, a term frequently used in IEPs. Okay, and it's frequently used in IEPs for a reason. Let's move on to our working definition. This is why it is what's used in IEPs. It's what your child is legally entitled to in the United States. So let's go over what those letters mean again. A free, appropriate, public education. Now, there's more to it in the law. It's a free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment in which the student can access the curriculum, can have can successfully access a floor of the, I can't think what the word is, the floor of ability of the curriculum. So let's take that down for a second, because you got to start with the free appropriate, right? Public education means that, they have to offer it to you. And if they can't offer it to you in a public setting, then they have to offer it to you in another setting. And they do that, and they pay for it when that's the case. If they don't have a free appropriate public education, then they have to pay for your child to go and have an appropriate education at a non-public school, and they have to pay for it. That's the way that works. A lot of times as parents, you're so overwhelmed and you go into the IEP and you say, well, here's what I think my child should have. And they're going to shoot holes in that because they're going to say, well, we're the experts. Are you an expert? It's always easier if you come in with something that says, I have an expert that says this is what my child needs. It's always easier, right? It doesn't mean that it's impossible to do otherwise, but it's easier because they're saying, we have a level of expertise, do you? Because is this just your opinion? And unfortunately, people don't value autism parent opinion. I don't know why, but they don't. So, and especially in a legal setting where it's going to cost them money, they're not going to go, oh yeah, no, we're just going to trust your opinion on this. So that's tough. That's reality. And it's also hard for autism parents because we want what's best for our child, don't we? Like, I don't know a single autism parent that doesn't want what's best for their child. And the school, if you say best in an IEP, just like put your head down and cry, because you can't say that. You can say appropriate, and I encourage you to say appropriate until the cows come home. Beat them with the word appropriate. Because what happens at your IEP is that you've got people that are there that are teachers, and usually the teachers are wonderful. They didn't devote their life to help kids and get paid very little money and have all that stress unless they're not, unless they're wonderful people. There are exceptions, but they are few and far between. So the teachers are there and they want what's best for your child. They really do. It isn't always possible to give what's best. So we got to take a moment with that, go, ooh, that hurts. I can't have what's best for my child. Well, it isn't what you're legally entitled to. That doesn't mean you can't have it, but it isn't what you're legally entitled to. What you're legally entitled to is the free, appropriate public education. So if you go into the IEP meeting, by the way, there's teachers there. Those are the good guys. And then there are administrators there. And I don't want to make it sound like the administrators are bad guys, but as we talked about yesterday on the show, there's this much money to cover everybody's needs at the school, right? And that's how much money they have. And they don't have a penny more than that. And the amount of money that they need to actually give a free, appropriate public education to all of the kids who are entitled to it is this much money. So how do you do that? How do you fit everything into this smaller bag? And the way that a lot of administrators have figured it out is that they take advantage of when parents don't know what they could have legally. That happens every day of the week and twice on Sundays. So it is important that you let the administrators know that you are not one of those parents that's just going to go, oh, you gave me a half hour of OT a week. Thank you. It's like Christmas. No. You have to let them know that you know the way this works and what your rights are. And they're going to hand you your rights at the beginning and make you sign a thing saying that you got your rights and that you understand them, right? And it will tell you in there, you're entitled to a free, appropriate public education. And appropriate is the sticking point. And it changes like a garden gate, because what does appropriate mean to you? And what does it mean to your neighbor? And especially when it comes to education, what is appropriate for an individual who's on the autism spectrum? It's a harder question to answer. So that's where you got to do a little bit of research. We hope that we can help you with that here on the show, but you're fighting for what is appropriate. The Supreme Court just helped us out a little bit earlier this year. In fact, there's another case before them where they have the opportunity to help us out some more. They could have hurt us, but instead they came back with a decision that said de minimis isn't appropriate. De minimis means the least that you can do, which a lot of schools have said, this child isn't educatable, right? How dare they? But they've said that about some of our kids and said we have the ability to park them into a room where they get to string beads, and that's the deal. And the Supreme Court said, sorry, that's not going to work. That's not the definition of appropriate. They didn't say what appropriate was, but they did say doing the minimal isn't. They did say, as it says in that floor of opportunity that I can't remember the exact verbiage from it, they have to have a way to be moving forward based on the curriculum in that least restrictive environment. So keep in mind, this is what you are legally entitled to. And it's going to be a fight. Almost always it's going to be a fight. And we all go into it thinking, well, no, it couldn't be. I'm telling you, I sat on the other side of the table. It's you have need to fight. Okay? I don't mean to be negative, but when it's your kid and it's their education for a year, it's important. Free, appropriate public education. And make sure that you're saying appropriate all the time. Well, if they say something to you, I don't feel like that's appropriate for him or her. I feel like what's more appropriate is just say it, like have it be a contest for yourself. How many times can you say the word appropriate in the IEP? They'll get the message. You know what you're talking about. And they won't offer you de minimis. All right. We'll talk more about IEPs and autism in the classroom a little bit later on. But right now, moving on, we always have a question of the day for you. Our question today, I love this question because I can't wait to see what you guys write. If you could change anything, just one thing, what would it be? It's International Peace Day. So what would it be? I think about, there's an old joke where a woman is walking on the beach and she comes across a magic lamp and she picks it up and she rubs the lamp and a genie pops out and says, I've got one wish for you. Any wish, what do you want? She says, one wish. I thought it was 3. And he says, nope. Inflation, one wish. So think hard what you want. And she said, okay, all right. I want thin thighs. And he says, really? In this world that is so complicated and there are so many things going on and there's so many people hurting and strife, really, you're that selfish that you could want thin thighs? And she says, all right, thin thighs for everyone. Okay, so what would you wish? If you could change one thing, what would it be? What would you wish for the world on this International Day of Peace? And by the way, I don't think it's inappropriate to wish for something for you or for your child. I don't think that that is selfish, because one seed of hope we have seen can grow into a million seeds of hope, right? So what would you change if you could change one thing? All right, moving on. Our topic of the week. Why am I yelling? Our topic of the week. I talk about this all the time on the show. I don't think we've done a week on it. The difference between acceptance and contentment. Boy, this kicks my keister all the time, you guys. I don't know about you, but there are times in our life when we rail against what is. And it makes it really difficult. You know that kind of feeling when you just feel like your life is moving this way and it feels like an earthquake, right? That slipstream thing. Your life is moving this way and everything else is going this way and nothing is quite working. And a lot of times that's because we're not in acceptance. And if acceptance feels like, well, how could I just accept something? It's so horrible. It's horrifying to think, how can I accept it? But you can't truly move through something and get on to the next thing until you accept what is. And when you accept what is, that doesn't mean that you are saying, all right, and I'm done and I lay down and I surrender. No, that's the difference between acceptance and contentment. When you accept something, you're not saying I'm content with it. You're saying this is what it is. So now that I've looked at it and it is what it is, what am I going to do to change it? That's acceptance. Contentment is, I like it just the way it is, and I don't need to change anything. And you know what? Sometimes acceptance is hard, right? But contentment is even harder to find. And if you can find a moment of contentment in every day, then bless you. That's a hard thing to do. And if you can find long stretches of contentment in your life, you're kicking it, man. But that's hard to do. But honestly, what's more attainable is acceptance. And there's a lot going on in the world right now, and a lot of people that are in a lot of strife. We have to accept what is and then be willing to move on. We're not in contentment, but let's accept what is. Then we can identify what the reaction is and move through it. It's a powerful, powerful shift in thinking. Anytime that I feel like, it's because I haven't gotten to acceptance about something. And, I will be honest with you. I've been in the last couple of weeks because all the changes that came with my son starting high school, man, kicking my keister. My day is different. My hours are different. The amount of time I'm in the car is different. But bigger than that, my kid is moving on. And, I know for all of you parents that are out there that have little ones that maybe aren't speaking, I remember being the mom of a 2.5-year-old who didn't have language, and all I wished for was to have a kid who could, hang with other kids and would be like, that would just be accepted that he was going off to college. And, we're there. We're totally, totally there. And don't get me wrong, I'm as grateful and as proud as I could possibly be. But it is this sudden realization of, oh my gosh, this child that I've built my entire life around has plans to move out of my house in 4 years. I am not in acceptance on that. I got to get there. I have to get there and accept that, because there's work to be done to help finishing off the job so that he can do it. But acceptance is the first step. So I share that with you today. And find the acceptance. By the way, I had to accept that he wasn't speaking before I could get the help to get us to the point where he began speaking again. So wherever you are on this journey, accept, and then we can get down to work, right? Okay, we got a great show for you today. In just a few minutes, we are welcoming into the studio Anthony Vasquez. He is a young gentleman on the autism spectrum, and he is a student at Miller Career and Transition Center, and he said he would love to come and talk about the programs that they have there and give us a rundown on it. And we couldn't be more thrilled to have him here today. Now, normally on Thursdays, we have Bonnie Yates with us, but Bonnie is away this week, and we wish her nothing but well being away. It's important to take some time. But a little bit later on in the show, so excited about this. You guys have been begging and asking for us to do a piece on Swim Team. Well, we have the writer, director, producer. She's going to be with us talking about this amazing documentary and why she thinks it's making such a big splash, pun intended, around the world. So all of that's coming up. But first, these messages. Stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. This month we're going to be creating a popsicle puzzle. As we do this fun activity, you'll notice these icons will pop up. These icons tell you important information about the skills we're using to create the craft and where you can find them on the Skills program. Skills is an ABA-based tool that helps parents create a curriculum that will help their children that are on the autism spectrum. Well, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are popsicle sticks, tape, and arts and crafts materials. So step one, you're going to take your popsicle sticks and lay them down and cover them with tape so they don't move around. Now that my popsicle sticks have been secured with tape, here comes the fun part. You're going to take your arts and crafts materials, they can be paint, markers, whatever you have, and then you're going to decorate this with a beautiful picture. This is the beautiful picture that I made. Now what I'm going to do is remove the tape. And now, as you can see, they come apart. And here is your awesome puzzle. Now, the fun part is trying to assemble the picture that you just made now that it's all been separated. I hope you enjoyed this activity with me. Until next time, guys, craft on! To find more about Skills and to access all of the lessons you saw in today's Smarty, visit skillsforautism.com and click on the parents icon. Skills, the online autism solution.
Nobody ever asks a kid with autism, what is it you'd really like to do? At this school, we ask the kids, what is your goal? What is your dream? Exceptional Minds is a vocational training program for young adults on the autism spectrum who want to have careers in computer animation and visual effects. I think young people with autism are totally underestimated.
When you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. They all have different talents, different skills, and what surprised me is that there really are no limits. That if these guys believe that they can do something, they really can.
It's estimated that 90 to 95% of young adults with autism are unemployed or underemployed.
A lot of young adults still live at home. A lot of them suffer from depression and are very isolated from the rest of the world, and the opportunities for them are very limited.
We want to develop careers for our young adults. Our full-time program runs 3 years, at the end of which we have job placement and job coaching. We have a work readiness program. We also have our own in-house studio so that when our students graduate, they can do on-the-job training and work on real projects.
We outsourced about 30-40 shots to the team here. They did fantastic work that we can put into a movie and be proud of it. It's great. I mean, we want to do it again.
The studio is their first step into the professional world, the first step in their new careers as digital artists.
The whole purpose is to get the students out into the real world.
We all have the same dreams. We want significance, dignity, and purpose with our lives. We have an opportunity to give those 3 words to every single student at this school who will actually be able to go out and participate in the dream.
This is my first full-time, full-paying job. I primarily work in After Effects. I learned After Effects at Exceptional Minds. It seemed like a good place for me to fit in because I was interested in animation.
Right from the first day that Nicky set foot in our company, he was producing work for us. We saw what level of professionalism is being instilled in them from the very beginning.
This was the first opportunity where Nicky could combine something he loved to do with something he was really, really good at that could eventually lead to employment.
When we first met Kevin, he was working at a supermarket bagging groceries, and they said he would never amount to anything else.
I work at Stargate Studios, and I'm a junior compositor. I mainly do like rotoscoping right now, and I'm still learning.
I think that you find great talent in the most amazing places. The students at Exceptional Minds have had a fair amount of training to get them ready for the visual effects environment.
If it wasn't for Exceptional Minds, I might still be at the supermarket, and I might be living at my parents' house.
Everything's changed. Nicky has purpose.
It feels like I'm a member of society now.
He's capable of making it on his own.
Once you get inside and you see what's really happening there, you immediately want to be a part of it.
It's the dream factory, you know, the movie business, and if you can connect people with their dreams, then the magic happens.
At Exceptional Minds, we like to say that we are changing lives one frame at a time.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're really excited because here in the studio with us, we have a young man who's doing some pretty inspirational things. Anthony Vasquez is here with us. So nice to finally meet you. We've been talking a little bit back and forth via email. And you're 21, did you tell me?
Yeah.
And Anthony is joining us today to talk very specifically about a school that you've been to. How long have you been at Miller Career and Transition Center?
I've been at Miller for 5 years now.
Okay. And so you're pretty familiar with their programs and the things that they do. Now, last spring, we went and did a tour of Miller. And for those of you who didn't have an opportunity to see that, it's a really an amazing program. What age do people usually start at Miller? Do you know?
Yeah, 18.
18. Okay. And what happens at Miller? Talk to us about what the experience is like at Miller Career in Transition.
Well, I would tell you that as far as I know, the new interns, when they graduate from high school, they start with summer school, and then their first year of Miller.
Okay.
4 weeks long.
4 weeks long. Okay. And you do a lot of different things at Miller. Let's talk about some of the programs that, like, what did you do at Miller during your time there?
Yes. I want to start with my first summer school. My first summer school, I had the landscaping program with teacher Brian Anderson.
And did you like landscaping?
I did.
I have a friend who just started at Miller and was put into the landscaping program. I don't know if she's loving landscaping, but the great thing about Miller is that you try something and then you get to try something else, right? So what else during your time, what other programs did you do besides landscaping at Miller?
Well, I can start with my first year at Miller.
Okay.
I took the auto detailing program, which is the car washing class.
Yes. I bet you learned a lot of cool tricks in the auto detailing. Did you, like, how did you learn to clean in those little itty bitty crevices that they get when they do so well in detailing? Is there a special tool for that?
Well, I can say that we have a orbital buffer.
Oh, okay. So it's these secret tools. And people should know, if you're in the Los Angeles area, they can make an appointment to bring their car in to be detailed at one of the transition centers like Miller. It's so affordable, and I hear you guys do a really fabulous job. Did you like the auto detailing program?
I did.
I bet you were good at it.
I loved it.
Okay, that's cool. And so then after you did the auto detailing, what did you go on to?
My second year, I went into the construction program.
Okay, construction. So what were you building?
I was building planter boxes.
Oh, okay. And then do you guys sell the planter boxes?
Yes, we sell them for someone who wants to get one from Miller to take it to their homes.
Wow. And so at that point, so now at this point, you've done landscaping, you've done the auto detailing, and you've done the construction. Which of those three did you like the best?
The auto detailing program.
Okay. So what did you go on to after construction?
After construction, I went on to the food services class, my third year Miller, which is called Cafe Miller.
Okay. Now, is that the same as the bakery, or is that different?
Different.
Okay. So tell me about the Cafe Miller.
Well, I can start saying that first it's a culinary arts program.
Yeah. What kinds of things did you guys make for the Cafe Miller?
We made bean and cheese burritos, which are like big.
Yes.
Yeah. We also made Chinese Caesar salad.
Ooh, that sounds good.
With chicken inside. It was good.
Was it fun working with the food?
Yes.
Okay. And then you guys sold the things that you made to the other students that were at Miller, but sometimes you sell them to businesses as well, right?
Catering, yes.
Yeah, catering. So if you guys are in Los Angeles and you want something catered, you can have the folks at Miller do a really good job and make some really fabulous things. And there's other things too. I know you guys have like a cookie platter, or is that the bakery that does that? Somebody makes scones too. I know that there's a scone tray that you guys do that's really fabulous.
The bakery.
The bakery does that. Okay. So after you did Cafe Miller, what did you move on to then?
My fourth year, I took building services, the off-campus one.
Okay. So what do you do in building services?
Well, we go off campus for 3 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
We go up to elementary school. We call them, and we ask for their plant manager, and we ask him or her what he or she needs done.
Okay. So what would be like an example of something that you might do on a day because it's at an elementary school? Are you guys like changing light bulbs? Are you fixing a door? What's an example of something you did?
Well, what I did is we picked up leaves.
Okay. And that's a really helpful thing because leaves will gather and clog drains. And then when we get a rain, everything floods, and it's important. You have to do something with the leaves. Anything else besides leaf management?
Yeah, we go to 2 youth institutes, PALS by Miller and Chime in Woodland Hills. We provide them with mopping, sweeping, be picking up dust, and we also cleaning up the dust with a dust mop as well, and also spraying.
This would not be my favorite job. Did you like the cleaning? I don't love to clean. Did you like it?
I did. It was okay.
Okay. All right. Because some people do and other people don't. So after you did that, now are we up to this year, or did you do something after you did the plant management?
Oh, okay. After my 4th year, we go into my 5th year. I was a senior.
Okay. So that was last year, right? Yeah. Okay. And what did you do as a senior?
A senior, I was selected to be off campus for the whole year in a program called the Senior Extern Program at West Valley Occupation Center through Miller.
Okay, so this means you're out doing internships, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so where did you work?
I worked at Smart and Final on Mason and Devonshire in Chatsworth.
Fabulous. And did you like that?
I did.
And did you just intern there, or did you intern other places as well?
Just there. I only had one job.
Okay. So now you're 21, about to be 22. So this is your last semester at Miller. And what are you getting to do this final semester?
I'm finally getting to be in the retail program.
Okay. What do you do in the retail program?
Well, we go off campus 5 days a week. Mondays and Wednesdays, we go to Walgreens on Devonshire and Reseda in Northridge.
Okay, and what do you do at Walgreens?
Stalking, facing, fronting, checking expiration dates, and those sorts of stuff.
So one of the great things about this is that you've got a variety of different skills at this point, and you've had an opportunity to see what you like and what you don't like. But even with all of those things that you did, Anthony, there were probably some programs that you didn't get to try. Is there anything that off the top of your head that you can think of, programs that you didn't get to try that you want to share with our viewers and let them know what's available at Miller? What else was there? Because there's like a ranch program, right?
That's the farming program.
Farming program. Okay. And what else is there?
We have a PACE lab, room 1.
Oh, right. That was a pretty cool room.
I'm finally in that class because I didn't get to try it during my years at Miller.
And can you explain to folks, because I saw this room and I was really fascinated by it. What do you do in this lab?
Well, I can tell you that each time we go in, we do hands-on jobs, 264, with 5 basic categories.
Yeah.
I actually have them right here.
Okay, talk to us.
So for the 5 basic categories we have are business/marketing, consumer service, construction/industrial, processing and production, and computer/technology.
Okay, so which one are you working on right now?
The one I'm actually working right now, well, I rotate every time I go inside.
Okay, between those 5. So I think I interrupted you. What did you want to say from the other paper?
Oh, we also have a textiles program.
Okay, and so that was one that you didn't get to try, but it's a pretty cool one. Tell them what the textiles program is.
I can do my best. The textiles programs, they use a whole variety of equipment like looms, a sewing machine.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
I thought it was fascinating when I saw it. There were some people who were weaving, there were some people who were using knitting machines, there were some people who were sewing, and they were making different products. There was a purse, a very boho purse that somebody was making that was lovely. Somebody had a shawl that they were making, and I was saying, where do you sell this stuff? I want to go to the store that sells this. And they were saying that they have a boutique or something like that once or twice a year, and that people are invited to it to be able to buy things. Do you know about that?
Well, as far as I know, that the textiles programs, they have 4 major sales a year.
Okay. How do I get on the list, Anthony, to be invited to this sale? Is somebody keeping a list that they only invite certain people, or do I have to know somebody to know when it's happening?
Well, to me, in my opinion, the best I can say is to know somebody and call the school and ask if it's okay with them, so if you can go to the sale.
I'm telling you guys, this stuff was really good quality, wonderful stuff. And then it seems like, now you mentioned on the PAYS program that there was the marketing, but there is also a marketing program because you're wearing a T-shirt that was actually done at Miller, right?
Yeah.
What's the thing on your on the side, the design?
This right here is actually a Miller Mustang because we are the Miller Mustangs, the interns.
I love that. I love that. So if your company wants to get T-shirts done and you want to do it a little bit less expensively, and more important, you want to put your money where your mouth is in supporting these young people to be job ready, order them from Miller or another career and transition place, and you'll know that you're giving kids an opportunity to learn how to do that in real life. And I'm trying to think what else. There's an eBay program, right? Where you sell things on eBay?
Yeah.
And so if you have stuff that you want to donate that's laying around at home, you can donate it. And then the students sell those products and the money goes back into the program to be able to buy supplies and things. It's all really clever. So I'm guessing that you really enjoyed your time at Miller. Is that an accurate, did you really have a good time?
Yeah.
And what do you think your favorite thing was at Miller?
The auto detailing program, like I mentioned, and playing on the intramural sports program we have.
What sports did you play?
I played soccer, kickball, JV basketball because I didn't make it to varsity, and also and hockey.
Fabulous. And I'm wondering, though, it seems like all of the students that I've met that went to Miller are like a tight-knit group of friends, that it seems like everybody, gets along and everybody's having a good time. And in fact, the way I heard that you wanted to be on the show was somebody was at a party that you were at with a bunch of other Miller students and got into a conversation and called me up and said, you got to have this young man on the show. He's a fireball. And he's, really excited. And I was like, yeah, let's get him on the show. So do you do things outside of school with the friends that you met at Miller?
Yeah.
And do you guys go to movies? Do you go play miniature golf and other, what do you guys do when you get together?
We go to the movies,
Yeah.
the Pacific theaters. And we go out to eat in our close to our homes.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. So, and some of your friends just graduated from Miller. Is it harder being at school without them, or have you made new friends? Do you miss seeing, because Luke Rose, who's been on the show before, he just graduated and he's a friend of yours. So do you miss him not being there, or you're okay with it?
I'm okay.
Okay. But you're about to leave.
Yeah.
This is, you get to finish this semester because you were telling me your birthday is this fall.
Yes.
When's your birthday?
November 7th.
All right. I'm going to say happy birthday early because I
Thank
may
you.
not be around you on that day. But then what happens, Anthony? What are you going to do after Miller?
We don't know yet what I'm going to do after Miller, but I'm hoping to get into West Valley Occupational Center.
Okay.
Because I would like to take more career classes to be more independent.
Okay. And ultimately, you want a job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what it's all about? Everybody wants a job. And you've already shown through all of these things that you did at Miller, you're a good employee, right?
Yeah.
You take pride in your work, you know how to finish something, and you have more job skills than most people your age, right? I mean, you know how to do all of these different things. So when you go to look for a job, what do you dream about? What's your dream job?
Smart and Final in Chatsworth.
That's where you'd like to work.
Yeah.
Do they know that you would like, because you were interning there, do they know that you'd like a job to be there? Have you told them? Have you applied for a job?
Yeah, I applied for I applied for the job.
And you were there as an intern so that they know you're good, but have they had you in for an interview at all or talked to you about a job?
No.
Well, I think that's remiss on their part, and I hope that they relook at that because you already showed them what a good employee you are. What advice, Anthony, do you have for students that aren't done with high school yet and maybe are a little nervous about what comes after high school, what would you say to them about your time at Miller?
Well, the time I had, I don't know.
Do you think, like when you were in high school, did you know that you were going to go to Miller?
Yeah.
And were you excited about it, or were you a little bit nervous?
I was a little bit nervous.
Yeah. And the friend that I have that just started at Miller, I have to be honest, she was a little bit nervous about it. So, but how long did it take you to realize that it was a really good place and that you were going to have a good time?
It took me quite a while.
Yeah. Would you say it took you a year to get used to it?
I would say it took me about a few months.
Okay. All right. And how long did it take you to make friends?
Most of the year.
Yeah. Because that takes a little bit longer. It does. But now you know it's a great place, right? Yep. And I wish that people watching who have some nerves about it, that they're a little bit nervous about going, would realize that it can be a place where you learn and you grow and you make friends. And it helps you to be ready. Now, when you're done in January, are you done in December, right?
December, yeah.
You get to stay the semester until you're 22.
Yeah.
Okay. And is your plan to stay living at home? Is that what you want to do? Or eventually do you want to live someplace else other than at home?
Right now, I'm still going to be living at home, but maybe in the future I would like to move out.
Yeah. Well, and that's all good, you know. A lot of people stay living at home for a period of time until they feel ready to leave home. And some people don't ever want to live any place but home. But eventually you think you might like that. And do you think you'd want to live on your own, or do you want to live with a group of people, like a group of friends? What do you think? And how much time do you think about that? You think about that at all, about what that would be like?
Sometimes.
Yeah?
The way I think about it personally is I think about it when I'm in private somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. And so do you think about living together with a group of friends?
A roommate.
A roommate, one roommate. I like that. And would you have a pet?
No.
No, you're not into pets?
No, because it's a lot of work. It'll be a lot of work.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And you have to really like pets for it to be worth it. I have a dog, and she's a lot of work, but she's worth it sometimes. So I think that these are great goals that you've got, Anthony, and I really hope that they all come true for you. And I hope that Smart and Final wisens up and hires you, because you did such a good job for them as an intern. So I hope that works out for you. Anything else that you wanted to share with us?
Well, Miller in general.
Yeah. Talk to us. Tell us what you want to tell us.
Well, I would like to share about Miller. It has 18 work programs. We were supposed to have 2 more this year, I heard, but unfortunately they're not there.
Okay. Well, maybe coming soon. You guys just got a new principal.
Yeah.
And a new vice principal too. And do you like them?
Oh yeah, they're nice.
We think even that your vice principal might even be watching. She said really nice things about you and was really thrilled that you were going to be on the show. And so what else did you want to tell us about Miller?
Well, some programs that were not mentioned to you, because Job Skills Center. We have a Job Skills Center program, which is the shredding one. Yeah, in that program, we shred papers into industrial shredders. They're big, and we do staple removing from little packets, sometimes big packets. And in that program, I see them use Legos to build some sculptures. They're so little.
And I was in that room too, and they have all kinds of different model making things that they can do. It was kind of a fascinating room. But these are all skills that we need in the world. You know, people at some point need to shred their papers with all the security issues. You know, these are real jobs that are real important, that it's great to know how to do them. What else did we leave off of our list?
Some programs were not mentioned. I mentioned Job Skills.
Right.
We also have a clerical service program, which is focused on office skills.
Okay, like for instance?
They type in data entry on the computer.
Very cool.
They shred as well, and they take calls.
Very cool.
With black telephones they have. I don't know personally about it much because I've never been in it, but I've seen some of the jobs.
And so, did you get to put in a preference thing and say these are the jobs that I'd like to, the programs that I'd like to participate in, or did somebody pick those for you?
Neither actually.
Okay. How do they pick who does landscaping and who does job skills?
Well, personally, what I can tell you the best is that we have some staff in our office that does placing for interns to be put into the work programs at Miller.
Okay. And so do you feel like they did a good job of putting you in the right programs for you?
Yeah.
I love that. Was there any program that you just were like, oh man, I hope I get that, and you didn't get it?
Not that I know of.
Okay. And I love that you loved the auto detailing. I think that that's awesome. That shows that you like detail-oriented stuff, because that takes patience, don't you think?
Yes, the patience only on the waxing, on using the orbital buffer, because that takes a lot of skill.
I'll bet it does. What other programs have we left out? I don't feel like we got to 18. What am I missing?
The cat. We have a program through Miller called CATS program.
And what's that?
First, they're located at Pierce College, which is over here, and Mission College in Sylmar.
Okay.
And they do similar stuff like we do at Miller. They learn work skills, and they take public transportation to work.
Okay. When you said cat, I thought you meant like meow cat, like an animal cat. What does CAT stand for?
Center Advanced Transition Skills.
Okay. All right. I totally was picturing like a veterinary kind of thing and I was like, why just cats and not dogs? So I'm glad we clarified that. What else?
CATS program. It's really fun. I've never been in it. I have some friends who are in it.
Okay.
We have a PE department.
Okay. And is that all part of the intramural sports?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you guys do soccer and what else?
I mentioned soccer, kickball, basketball, softball, volleyball, and like hockey, like I mentioned.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. What else are we missing?
Yeah, I felt the same way. There was not all the 18 work programs were mentioned.
So what? And I keep interrupting you. So what else did we miss?
That's a good question. Give me a minute to think.
Yeah, I can absolutely give you a minute to think. I'm just looking at what a parent wrote in.
We have another building services program, but it's on campus.
Okay.
Most of the time, the group is on campus. Sometimes one group goes off and one stays.
So really, when you think about it, at the facility at Miller, a lot of the maintenance and things that are happening there, you guys are cooking the meals for everybody so that they can buy something at the Cafe Miller. You guys take care of the plant management, taking care of maintaining the facility. You guys have the landscaping. You're probably taking care of your own landscaping at the facility. There's the farming program. There's an organic gardening. They were building that when I was there touring that day. Have they started that now where you guys are growing your own vegetables in that courtyard?
Oh, I don't know anything about that because when you came, I was still off campus.
Okay. But I think now they're growing their own vegetables. You guys are like a city unto yourself. It's kind of amazing how it all works together. And there's such a good vibe when you're on campus. Do you feel like that too? It feels like everybody's having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I didn't keep track. What other ones? Have we missed anything? Later on we're going to kick ourselves and say, "Oh no, we forgot this program." What else can you think of, Anthony? Did we get them all?
Let me think. We used to have a You Buy It, We Build It program.
Ooh, what's that?
Oh, they build like technologies. Personally, in the yearbook, I saw them build like, guitars and a bunch of other stuff. What's that? I don't know. That's all I know, guitars and other stuff.
But so that program may not be happening right now. What were the two that they were saying they were going to start in the fall?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't. No one said anything about it to me.
Okay. What do you wish they'd start doing? Is there a program that you wish would happen at Miller that hasn't happened yet? Or a job that you'd like to know more about how to do?
Not really.
Not really.
Because I'm so used to the 18 work programs.
And 18 is a lot, let's be honest. And it covers a whole range of things. At some point, you're going to do something that you're interested in, no matter what your interests are. Anthony, I just think that you're a remarkable young man and you're doing great things. And I can't wait. I hope that soon you're able to tell me that you got a job someplace and I'm going to come in and be a customer wherever it is that you have a job. I promise. So you tell me where you're working and I'm going to come and be a customer and see you working.
Thanks.
Because that's what needs to happen. So if somebody's watching and they see this wonderful young man and think, I got to have him on my workforce, there he is. He's about to be done at Miller and he can start working. Do you want to work full-time or you want to start part-time?
Full-time.
Full-time. There it is, folks. Your newest job candidate. Thank you so much for coming in on your day off, because he did not have classes today, so he was willing to come in today. And we so appreciate you making the trek over here and being with us. I think you're very inspirational to a lot of parents and to a lot of young people out there who are thinking that they don't, that there's nothing for them to do. There's lots to do, right? Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us, okay?
Yes.
All right.
I would like to say something to our viewers.
Okay, say something to them.
Hello, viewers. This is me, Anthony Vasquez. I'm one of the Miller interns there. Just wanted to tell you, our services at Miller are open to the public, so you are welcome to come. If you have any questions, you can call Miller, area code 818-885-1646. But if you decide you want to go see the school in person, I can give you the address. 8218 Van Alden Avenue, Reseda, California, 91335.
That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You're great on camera too, Anthony. I'm telling you, it's too bad that they don't have a TV production program at Miller. I think you would have done really well.
We do have a theater arts and set designs program.
That's right. I remember that. I saw them. They were building sets. And they can build sets for other people too.
Yeah. It's the drama program.
I love that.
Thank you.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much for being with us, Anthony.
You're welcome.
You're a remarkable young man. All right, you guys, we're going to take a break. And then when we come back, I've got your Autism in the Classroom moment. And don't forget, coming up in just a few minutes, we've got a wonderful interview with the writer, director, producer of the documentary Swim Team. Stick with us.
What would you do if your child was hurting?
If your family's future was uncertain.
If help seemed out of reach.
Have you been given no hope?
Taka means I am not alone in this.
This is the reality for families affected by autism. And today, the number of children with autism is growing more rapidly than ever. Taka unites these families and ensures that they do not have to fight this battle alone.
Our oldest son, Jared, who has autism, when we first took him to the doctor to get the diagnosis, you know, it's so sad because they offer you nothing. There's no help, there's no hope.
One of the things that you learn with autism is being very grateful for even the small milestones. You know, when you first get the diagnosis, you go through all the range of emotions. You know, this can't be happening. Why is this happening? You have to get to a point where it's the emotion that has to be leading is, what can I do? The first thing that struck me was walking to a room and seeing, oh my gosh, we're not alone. And there is this very strong community that's already set. And something I still today associate with Taka the most is hope. To me, that's what Taka means. Taka means hope.
It's like you've got all these dreams and goals of what your son's going to do, and you get your diagnosis and you're sent home. And that's it. There's no plan of action. There's no, here's autism, here's what we're going to do to make your life better and help him. It's strictly go home and try to process it and go on the internet. It was devastating, and you just, you know, you go through this 3 week of depression and then you snap out of it. You have to. And then you start making phone calls and trying to figure out what is autism and what are we going to do. And then we found Taka, and it was life-changing.
Autism, there really is no definitive answer. It is trying to find the resources that are out there that can assist you to help your child so that, you know, you just don't feel so helpless at those particular moments.
There was direction and there was hope and there was a little ray of sunshine that he's going to be okay and we're going to be okay.
I always look back and think we would never be where we are. Carson wouldn't be where he is at without Taka.
So 13 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and that put our whole family into a tailspin. There were so many different ideas and things that were not proven. Nobody knew what guidance to give us. We had no direction. And then we found Taka. They helped give us a path to follow, help give our son a better future and make him healthy and put him back onto the road of recovery. When your son's first diagnosed, the first thing you hope for is, gosh, I just want my son to speak. I just want to be able to communicate with him in some way. Then you want a little more. You want him to go to a regular school. Then you want him to potentially have a real life and go to college. So you're always hoping for the future of your child. My son is a happy, healthy, vibrant young boy that's going to turn 15 really soon. And we couldn't be more pleased, and without Taka, I don't think we'd be in the place that we are today. We believe the future is not defined for many affected by autism. There is hope and direction for these kids and their families. Taka is dedicated to providing community, support, education, and hope to families affected by autism.
At Taka.
At Taka.
At Taka, we are families with autism helping.
Helping.
Helping families.
Helping families with autism.
Hi, my name is Matt. I am 19 years old and I was diagnosed with autism when I was 6 years old. Autism is one of the fastest growing developmental disabilities in the United States, but I am living proof that with the right treatment, hope is possible. My future is not limited. Today, I am attending Fullerton Community College and I run for the cross-country team for fun with my friends. It makes me feel proud when I think about my progress. Chances are you know someone affected by autism. Show them they are not alone and help others get on the road to recovery. Contribute to Talk About Curing Autism today.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Wasn't he just delightful? I love when we have individuals who are on the spectrum who come and have an opportunity to talk about what they want to do, because it's all like any other young individual. They've got dreams and hopes and things that they want, and it's important for us to showcase that and hear their voices. We had a couple of questions that came in that I wanted to deal with really quickly. I want to go first to the one, except my iPad's not cooperating. The person who said, hello, my daughter is 9 years old, attending special day class, and she is receiving ABA therapy at home, but recently private insurance approved us some hours at school in the classroom. We will have an IEP next Monday. How do I pressure them to accept ABA at school? Well, a couple of different things here. Since your insurance is going to pay for it, it shouldn't be that hard of a thing to do, because the school just doesn't want to have to pay for it themselves. And I could go through the lengthy explanation, but that's the truth of it. When you have outside funding, they're going to get a little fussy about who it is that comes into the classroom, and they might give you a hard time about what they get to interact with. They get really kind of squidgy about, you can't do this and you can do that, and we can talk about that once it happens. But anytime a parent is having trouble getting them to use ABA techniques in the classroom, I think, because I want to answer that part of your question, just in case I'm wrong and they are giving you a hard time about it. When schools talk to you, because we talked earlier about that free appropriate public education, if you look up appropriate in enough dictionaries, you're going to find sometimes dictionaries define appropriate as effective, and it isn't a leap to make. I find it useful, and have done this in the past. You bring the actual dictionary in that has the word effective in it, or you bring, if it's a screenshot or whatever, and you quote, oh, this is Merriam-Webster, whatever it is that you find it in, and say, in this dictionary, it defines it as effective. And you say to them, so here are the studies that I have that show that ABA is effective at teaching skills. And there are hundreds of studies about ABA, and you just have to bring in, a stack of them for the visual and go, so here's what I have. I don't know if you guys are privy to this, but here's what I have. So, and you've offered me a free appropriate public education. And I'm sorry, what method are you using to teach? And then you get very silent, right? Because you can hear the crickets. And sometimes they'll go, oh, well, we're doing such and such and so, right? And you go, fabulous, fabulous. Can I see the studies that show that your method is effective? And then again, the crickets will chirp. And a lot of times they'll go, absolutely, I'll get that to you. And then you wait as cobwebs start to form on your head connected to your computer because they don't have any. And that's the long and the short of it. And you try to do it as nice as possible. And, there are other people who go, okay, I'm not going to go that far, Shannon. But what I will say to them is, listen, we're very interested in being, we're into science-based things. And we really like to see that our child isn't a guinea pig, and because we know that that's what we have a right to. So just tell me what program you're doing and show me what the studies are that show that's effective. We all know that ABA, I could bring you hundreds of studies to show you that that's effective, and that's what we think is appropriate. But if you're saying that something else is appropriate, just please show me why you think it's appropriate and show me data that shows that it's effective. That often will shut them up, and they'll go, we really like ABA and we'd be happy to do that because it's effective. And there are studies that show, and if they're going to they're always thinking about, oh no, is this parent going to take me to court? And if they do, are they going to win? Because if they do, then it sets a precedent, and then we're going to have to give it to everybody. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm spreading the bad news. But that's the reality, right? We have to get that acceptance, right? That's the reality. We're not content with it. We get to the acceptance, and then we move on to it. I also wanted to address that somebody wrote in and said, I wish my parents understood that when I act out, it isn't about them. To family members, your child behaviors aren't because you're a bad parent. And I want to send you a hug for sending that, because I think it's super duper important for parents to realize that. And then the last one that I want to address right now, there's two questions that I want to deal with. Somebody wrote in and said, how are you trying to organize a collection of autism-related products to send to various disaster areas? Well, I am one of the people on the board of Autism Care and Treatment Today. Autism Care and Treatment Today, as we mentioned on the show yesterday, started an SOS fund for individuals who write in and say, I need this and so as a result of a disaster. And I think it specifically says hurricane, but I know in talking at a meeting the other day, it's any disaster, because it was pointed out that there have been many people who have suffered through flood and who have suffered through fire. And we're not, trying to say, oh no, it has to be this disaster. That makes absolutely no sense. We were saying yesterday, people can donate to that fund. And people can write in and ask for a grant, and you don't have to wait for an open grant period. You can write in and say SOS. They've already granted an iPad to a family where the iPad, which was the source of communication for an individual who's on the autism spectrum, and so they've already granted and gotten that iPad off to that family. And there's another one that came in, but surprisingly, there have only been a couple. So I know that there will be more, and that in some cases right now there are people on the ground that need things. The card offices have been sending shipments to our individual offices, who then have been disseminating things. We, in Texas, for instance, we were asked to send blankets, towels, and toiletries, and the card offices, the collective card offices, sent a huge shipment from, I think, 85 different locations sent, and then people in those offices who were on the ground were able to disseminate that. So that's how we're trying to do that. And if you have other ideas that are really helpful, please let us know. But those are the ways in which we have been thus far trying to make a difference. I know this morning on the show I said for people in Puerto Rico be writing to us and telling us, because we can help to mobilize those efforts as well. Although CARD does not have an office in Puerto Rico, and so, but I know some people there, and we're trying to coordinate to see if there's a way that we can get some stuff there. In these first few hours, it's impossible. And, you know, last night we were seeing that the entire island, 100% without electricity. It's just stunning to me. So getting communication back and forth, unfortunately, in this hugest hour of need, really what we have at our disposal is to offer our prayers and thoughts and hopes, and to begin to start talking about what are we going to do and how are we going to send it. But I always like to wait to hear from the people for what they need most, because different disasters, we've seen that they needed different things. A year ago, when there were the Louisiana floods, we were hearing from the people there that what they needed was clothing, and that anything, you know, from top to bottom, they needed clothing and could use pretty much anything. We were hearing specifically from our Texas families that what they needed were toothpaste, toothbrushes, and shampoo. You know, so I prefer to send what is actually needed instead of what I think is needed, because what I think isn't necessarily the thing. But thank you for asking that. And then for Jennifer, who wrote into us and said, how do you get diagnosed? I would like to have a longer conversation with you offline, because I'm a little bit confused about the fact that your psychiatrist has already put autism on your paperwork, but not giving, but I don't understand why they're not putting autism, why they didn't give you a diagnosis. So maybe you and I can have a conversation offline and figure out why that's not happening, because you're going to need that for various and sundry reasons. And autism can go hand in hand with a lot of other things, but that doesn't mean that the autism diagnosis isn't there. So I'm unclear whether that person has actually diagnosed you or not. And you can always get a second opinion. Okay, I wanted to take just a minute, because we want to get to our interview with the writer, director, producer of Swim Team. I know that there are some of you watching. Courtney, I know you're excited. I know you're so excited about this, and so many of you others that are watching. But briefly before that, you know, we always on Thursdays try to squeeze in an autism in the classroom moment. And I promised yesterday that I wanted to talk specifically about the 4 usual suspects in a way that talks about how we utilize this information in the classroom. So we know that behavior doesn't happen in a vacuum, and everything that a student is doing in a classroom is behavior, right? We're all engaged in behavior all the time, and the classroom is no different. And we know that in order to really make a change in behavior, that so many of us have been brought up to think that we say, you know, stop doing that, don't do that. And it's really ineffective, right? And while you're taking the time to say, stop doing that, I know it as being a classroom teacher that, you know, you got one child who's doing something and you say, you know, Billy, stop doing that. And then in the time that you took to spend that energy on that child, another one has gotten out of their seat. And now all you're doing, you're not teaching anymore. You're just telling people to stop doing what they're doing. And you lose people. Sometimes it's very visible and noticeable how you lose people. Other times people just retreat into their head and they're, you know, daydreaming because what you're doing isn't exciting to them, right? This is not the way to teach. You're always running, trying to catch up with your students, and it's not the way to teach. We know from behavioral analysis that for every behavior that's happening and that happens on a regular basis is because it's getting some sort of a paycheck. So we here on the show refer to something as the 4 usual suspects because they're the 4 behaviors that are most often, the 4 reasons why the behavior is happening. And the one that's most common in the classroom is the one that I want to center on today and talk about how you deal with that. And that's attention-based behavior, attention-driven behavior. Every single classroom in the world has at least one student in the classroom who is engaged in behavior because they need attention. When I teach, like to think of kids as being these wonderful clay buckets that are each individually designed, right? And some of them are bigger and wider, some of them are smaller, but they're buckets nonetheless. And you have to fill the bucket with attention. It's part of what you have to do as a teacher. And for some kids, the bucket, runs like it's almost always full, and all you have to do is top it off and say, you're doing a good job. And that's enough for them. They can live on that for a week, right? There are other kids, for various and sundry reasons, that their bucket is like a bottomless pit, and you keep putting stuff into it and you just can't seem to get the bucket full, right? I'm here to tell you that you can, that sometimes it takes a whole lot of investment, but if you don't make that investment in filling that bucket, you're going to spend twice that energy in keeping the child in check, and you're going to lose other students. So what are the kind of things that we see when a child is doing attention-driven behavior? This is a kid who sometimes it can show up as them talking out of turn without raising their hand. Sometimes it can show up as the kid who raises their hand constantly. You know, the one who goes, oh, 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 right? Sometimes that's attention-driven. Not always, but that can be. Sometimes attention-driven behavior are the kids who are shooting things at other people, or pulling other people's hair, or kicking other people, or sleeping on their desk, right? Sometimes these behaviors are for other things, but sometimes they're for attention. And here's one of the most important things for all of us to learn about attention. When somebody is in a space where they need attention, then the need is great, and it doesn't matter whether the attention is good or bad. If all things being equal, it's like, I'm not getting the attention, and if I'm not getting it in a good way, then I'm going to push to get it in a bad way, because that also fills the bucket. We don't want it to get to that point. What we want to do is set up a circumstance where attention comes on a regular basis, but it only comes for things that are good. It's really hard, and it's hard to think of it this way, but if you've got the kid who's like, oh, 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 right? And you say to them, Billy, stay calm and wait till your turn. Guess what? You just gave attention. And it means, oh, 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 is going to happen on a regular basis because it worked. Oh, right? It's a sticky wicket. So we always have to be mindful when you're seeing attention-seeking behavior happen, and it's behavior that you don't want to see, that you have to not give it attention. You have to not feed it. So when, oh, 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 you just don't call on them ever. When they're doing that, you very specifically call on somebody else, and you don't address it with them. But if they raise their hand nicely, man, you immediately call on them and say, that was, good hand raising, and, good job. And even if they answer the question wrong, you say, I just love it when you participate like that, right? So you're really reinforcing attention-seeking behavior that's done properly, and giving absolutely no attention when it isn't right. But here's the other thing, is you got to get there before they get empty, right? Before it gets urgent for them, which means in the beginning, you pretty much have to set yourself a timer. And you can take a baseline on it and look at the kid in the classroom that is your biggest attention getter, right? And try to figure out, like, if you waited 2 minutes and then just ask them a question and say, Billy, what's the best way to do whatever, right? And you gave them some attention. And then you see, okay, so 2 minutes is about how long that went, and you see, oh, he can maintain that, because you do it again in 2 minutes, and we're not seeing any behavior that's disruptive for the classroom. And you think to yourself, 2 minutes, every 2 minutes, I'm going to ask this kid a question, only for a very short period of time. Because when you see that 2 minutes works, then you're going to go to 3 minutes. And when you see that 3 minutes works, then you go to 4 minutes, and you're going to find yourself at the end of the week at 30 minutes, which is much more manageable, right? And if you are at a point where the student can go 30 minutes and you give them attention, you're going to get so much more done. It's going to be crazy town, right? And then what happens from there is that you see that, oh, you go to 35 and they're not making it, you go back to 30, right? And you maintain at 30, maybe for a week. And they start to get comfortable knowing I'm going to get attention on a regular basis. Then maybe you go to 32 and then you go to 35. And eventually by the end of the school year, you're going to find that they're that kid that they're topped off just once a day, and that they can last on that when you say, because they have trust. They trust that you're going to give them the attention. And I want to say that it isn't always what we think. I mean, some kids just need more attention. Some kids aren't getting it at home for various and sundry reasons. And that's not a judgment on the parents and the family, right? Sometimes they're just, sometimes if you've got a lot of kids, you can't give individualized attention to one kid over and over. There just aren't enough hours in the day. But we can in the classroom to give 42 kids, and believe me, I've had 55 kids in a classroom before. So when I say this to teachers, I want you to know, I feel your pain. Sometimes you're not set up for success in the best possible way. But you can do it. And sometimes one of my favorite things to do for attention seekers is to give them a job. And when you give them a job, it takes pressure off of you in another way. That sometimes you give the job of giving another kid attention to the person that you get, that's their job. That I need you to help Sandra with her work, and can you do me a favor, and you pull the child aside and say, she's somebody who really needs a cheerleader. So help her with the problem, and when she gets the first one right, make sure you tell her she's doing such a great job. Okay, now wait a second. So now you've got the person who needed the attention you're giving them is giving them the job to help another child who needs attention. And then when you say, you guys are doing such a great job, you fed them both. Oh, it can be so good, you guys. It can be so, so good. Much better way than running around constantly saying, don't do this, instead saying, good job. You will see that you'll have so much more energy for teaching, because teaching is the thing. In the coming weeks, we're going to talk about what the other 3 suspects are, but in the classroom, attention is, I would say, at least 7 out of 10 times, it's attention-seeking behavior. Don't give attention to, when they're doing that behavior. Find a way to give attention when they're doing something good. If you have to, get creative. Not if you have to, get creative anyway. All right, we need to take a short break, and then we're going to come back with Laura Stolman. She is the writer, director, producer of Swim Team. It is making a splash all over the country. Stick with us.
Is the Act Today, One Hope Act Today for Military Families Run and Festival, and it's to benefit military families challenged by autism. So we're out here for a great day. Not only is there a 10K run, a 5K run, and a 1-mile fun run, there's a kids run and there's an Easter egg hunt. Military families are particularly hard hit because they have very special circumstances.
I have 3 kids in my family. My nephew has 3 children that are all on the spectrum. And for me, it originally became about understanding and learning about autism. And then it became about, what can I do to help? It takes $3 million to raise a child through their lifetime with autism. That's a great reason to get involved.
On your mark, get set.
One Hope Wine is the 7th annual title sponsor of the One Hope Act Today for military families because we believe that giving back is good business. Of-age runners are probably going to meander over to the One Hope and Stone Beer and Wine Garden for a celebratory glass. For the younger generation, the Family Fun Zone.
This is a big thing for us because it's about getting more treatment to more people, raising awareness. It's a really good event. We're proud to be a part of it for 7 years now, and we're a local office, so we wanted to be here.
Stroller Warriors is a free running club for military spouses and their families. A lot of us are impacted by autism, so it's just a great way for us to get together and raise some money and bring attention to this important cause.
I think people forget the people element involved with autism. You know, the families that are suffering, the children that are suffering.
Society could be robbed of so much untapped potential, talent, and skills if we're not helping the children of these military families as much as any other children out there. Not just those suffering with autism, but those struggling.
People should get together and tell their friends and family to donate to Act Today. It's a really important cause, one that's close to our heart and the San Diego community as a whole, and an incredible opportunity to support the military. So get out there and donate.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to, just,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism,
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them. Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome.
Love. The field I want to work in. Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm really excited right now because, you know, one of the things that I love here on the show is when you guys ask for something and I'm able to give it to you. And you guys have been asking me for months to do a piece on Swim Team, and I'm so excited because joining us via Skype right now is Laura Stolman. She's the writer, director, producer of this very incredible, important, pivotal film, Swim Team, which is, there are screenings right now that you can see around the country, and then on the 2nd of October, you're going to be able to see this on PBS. So, Laura, thank you so much for being willing to be with us because I know you are super, super busy right now, but we're thrilled to have you here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, we have to start at the beginning of this because this, we're going to talk more about the film, but I think we have to give our viewers a little bit of backstory into how you came to do this film. So talk to us. Tell us the dish.
So I myself have a son with autism, and he eloped when he was little. he wandered, and we had a pool in the backyard. So it was really, really important to my husband and I that we get our son swimming as soon as possible, so that we didn't have any tragic accidents. So we tried to find him swimming lessons, and it wasn't easy. And in fact, I say this as I'm touring with the film to audiences often, that when your child is on the spectrum, it's not easy to find recreational opportunities, lessons, anything in the community. So it was a process, and it took a few years. And along the way, I found out about Coach Mike and Maria, and they were involved in a Special Olympics team that wasn't that far from my house. And I went to meet with them, and I saw them training their son, Mikey. And he was, I think, 16 at the time. He was 16, and he just was this incredible swimmer on the spectrum with just real talent in the water. And I was impressed with him, and I was really impressed with Coach Mike, who said he was starting his own team, recruiting kids on the spectrum, and that his team would dominate the competition.
And at what point did you say to yourself, okay, this is such a big story that I want to document it?
Well, that was it. When he said this team would dominate the competition, that blew me away. You know, I just wanted someone to teach my son how to swim. And nobody talks that way about children with autism. He was a quintessential coach with high expectations, and I was just really swept up in his positivity. And within a few days, I decided that what was about to unfold with his team was something I thought was really important to capture. And this is, I come from a filmmaking background, so that's, you know, that's the other thing you have to keep in mind. I'm always thinking, I'm always looking at what's happening in my life and around me from the standpoint of, is this a good story? Is that a good story? So it was really a perfect storm of what was, you know, something that was important happening in my life, but also, you know, this great, you know, film idea coming together.
Well, I love things like that when it all comes together, and all of a sudden, you know, here you are with this unique perspective as a mom needing to get your child swim lessons, but as a filmmaker, and those things dovetail together. I always think that that's like, it's like a volcano and it's a higher purpose. So, and truly, that's really what it's become, because this film is changing people's hearts and minds all over the country, all over the world when they see it, and more people are about to be able to see it. So let's talk, well, maybe we should take a second and look at the trailer to give our audience an idea if they haven't already heard about it. Shall we do that?
Sure.
Let's take a look. This is Swim Team.
Guys, give the best that you got. Who's with me? Hammer hands! Hammer hands!
Some kids, they stare at me, who's this fast kid?
The front stroke may be a little bit tough, but the breaststroke may be really hard.
As I know, autistic means some person that's different than other kids.
Our team, they have some type of autism spectrum disorder, which is not very common for a swim team.
You're gonna swim if it kills me.
Coaching a special needs team versus a regular swim team, it's night and day.
I know the tick's bother. You just have to work with him a little bit. He's good though.
If you are the fastest swimmer, me and Mike will take care of who wants to be faster than us.
So many people don't give our kids a chance to do anything.
There's no resources for these children. They're just gonna send him to Walmart so he can stock. That's not what we want.
Kelvin feels frustrated about his tics. People stare at him, laugh at him. He cannot control that. He's not doing those on purpose.
One time or other, all of our kids have been ostracized. Michael goes, why did God make me different, Dad? What did I do wrong? We said, because you're special. God made you special. A lot of normal boys can't do what you do.
Michael Phelps, he got 23 gold medals.
Now bronze. You want gold, you have to work hard for this.
Take your mark.
When I'm swimming, I feel normal. It feels amazing for what I swim.
You're giving kids an opportunity. The whole thing is you can't give up on your child.
Hey, just won the race.
Not give up. Fast as you can go. Don't give up. Try not to give up.
Laura, I just can't, there are no words. You must be so proud of this film.
I am. Thank you. I am.
You know, it's getting such great reviews from, I've had more people write to me about this film than anything else this year. And I have to say, we went to AughtFest, but you know, when we were able to be there, we were there for 6 hours, but we weren't there during the 6 hours that you were there. And I was really bummed out about that because the scuttle was all about Swim Team. I have had people who aren't in the autism community write to me about this film, and people in the autism community not write to me once, but sometimes 10 times saying, when are you going to have Swim Team on? When are you going to have Swim Team on? It's really affecting people's hearts and minds and changing them. Why do you think it's getting, what do you think it is about it? Because I've got an idea about it, but I want to hear from you. What do you think is so unique and special about this film?
Well, I think actually Maria, the mom of one of the main characters, says it in the film. She says, nobody gives our kids a chance to do anything. And, you know, this is this incredible underdog team that does end up dominating the competition at the state and national Special Olympics games that we cover in the film, and it's incredibly inspiring. It's a real story of kids who have been excluded most of their lives. They've been segregated in public school, and many of them in private placements, and they continue to face a tremendous amount of exclusion as they are becoming adults, and a lack of educational opportunities, a lack of employment opportunities, a lack of housing opportunities. And we know as parents of these kids that they have so much to offer, but they're just not given the support they need. And here's a film where these kids are given support and they shine. And I think that's what it is.
And I think, I mean, you've said many times that at the heart of this, it's a sports story, and people can connect to it in that way. There's something to cheer for and something to cheer about. But the fact that you chose, there's a whole swim team that you're chronicling their first year, but the fact that you chose 3 very different young men, I think it's a gift to the autism community, because we always say if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. But for people outside the community, they hear that and they don't really know what it means. And you've given us 3 examples that people can look at and go, oh, okay, these kids they're different and their challenges are different. And you didn't pull back from the challenges, but it wasn't about the challenges. And I think that that's what we all need to see. It's the reality of it all, that there are good days and that there are hard things. I think as a parent, the fact that you didn't shy away from the parents' perspective of it too, and we get to see the heart of the parents, is really amazing, and I appreciate that. And there are points of it that are a 5-hanky affair. I'm sure you've heard people say that.
There are, yeah, there are. For me too, and I've seen it hundreds of times, and I still get weepy at a particular moment.
And you've got a bunch of different screenings that are coming. One that you've got coming up here beginning of next week, middle of next week. Talk to us about that screening and why it's so special.
So we are screening as part of the IDA screening series. Is that what
you're
referring to? So that's in Los Angeles on September 27th, and I think that you can RSVP actually on the International Documentary Association website. That is actually presenting the film to members of the guilds, like the Academy. We are qualified, actually, for the Academy Awards. But there are a lot of films that are, it's really, I think, every year, I think there are about 100 documentaries that qualify for best documentary.
But come on, I mean, there's a lot of buzz. It's not crazy to think that you could be nominated. I'm sure that's occurred to you.
Look, I do think it's a long shot, not because the film isn't good. I think it's a good film.
Yes.
But it's such a competitive landscape, and so, I do think it's a long shot. But what's most important for me is that the film is seen as widely as possible, and that's why I'm actually thrilled that it's going to be broadcast on PBS October 2nd at 10 p.m. And the other thing that's important that I'd like your viewers to know is that anybody can host a screening of this film. Just come to my website, swimteamthefilm.com, and click on host a screening. We've actually had over 80 organizations right now, and apart from film festivals, requests to host a screening, and schools, law firms, autism organizations, of course, but anyone can host a screening. And what's so great about that is that after watching a film like this, it gives an organization of people, it gives a group of people a chance to talk. And there is so much to talk about. Especially the transition issues that are urgent for our transition-aged kids now in our community.
Absolutely. And in fact, your film delves into that a little bit about this cliff and how there isn't always a net in which to fall. And sometimes the disappointment, I think and you're an autism parent, I think one of the things that's been hardest for me over the years is when you find out later on that there was something they could have told you about and they just didn't.
That's in our film.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually. There's a moment in our film about this.
Yes.
And I thought it was really important actually to put this in the film. But one of the characters that we focus on is a young man who is in high school, and his parents decide that they want him to graduate with his class at the end of his senior year. And this is in part because it wasn't fully explained actually to the family that not only could he stay until 21, but it was best for him to stay until 21. And interestingly, before the film was finished and before we released it, I was showing it to people in the autism community and showing it to some experts. And I had a number of people say, I can't believe people don't know this. That the IDEA entitles a child with autism with an IEP to a free appropriate public education until 21. And I felt very strongly that there are people that don't know this. There's the family in the film that didn't really know. And so there's a lot to talk about. It's so important that parents share information, and that happens in our film, and that's why it's important to see the film and talk about the film, because it's a way for us to share information. And we're so isolated as parents raising kids with autism, and it's very hard to sometimes get out of the house. I understand that. But there's nothing better for us, I think, than connecting with other families who we can share our experience with, and it's been, I know, so helpful for me and for my family to have these relationships.
And tell me if this is too personal, but I'm wondering, at what point did you watch the film with your son? Was it fairly early on, or when you were?
So I shared, I have 3 children actually. I have two typical kids, and I shared the film with my kids before it was finished. I wanted feedback. I wanted them to see what mommy was doing, why I was leaving the house, and so they've been hearing about it and seeing snippets along the way. And I think the first time my son with autism saw it was was at a screening with a lot of people, and we had a big Q&A after, and the cast was up on the stage, and he was one of the first people that raised his hand in the audience to ask the question. And his question was, "Why was it so long?"
Oh. Oh, we love our kids, don't we? I'm sure that was a shining moment for you. But yeah, but the reality of it, and how did you answer that for him?
You know, he's I think he was 10. He just turned 11. He was 10. He, you know, he can express himself verbally, but he doesn't always express himself appropriately. And I think that, you know, the film is a little long for him.
Well,
it's not.
It probably, you know, that's probably a right on target thing for any 10-year-old to say, let's be honest, right? So, you know, not that shocking for 10. But did you explain to him this is how long it took the story to take? Or did you say, you know, I was thinking about making it longer or shorter, but this is, did you take the time to line it out for him?
No, you know what? I think that's him. You know, he has the attention span for certain types of films, like Lego Ninjago, Pokemon. I think that it was the type of film. I don't think, you know, even the fact that it was about kids like him, and he's starting to understand that he's, you know, who he is and what autism means, and he can certainly say it. I don't think it was his type of film, actually. I don't think it was his cup of tea.
There you go. Too funny. Well, we love this film, and we think it's important for everybody to see it. So I want to go over some of the information again about where they can find out, because you've had a lot of screenings in the last week, and you've got a lot more coming up over the next week. Where can they go to find that information?
So please find us on social media. We have a Facebook page, Swim Team the Film, where we list all of our screenings that are coming up. We're on Twitter, Swim Team the Film. The most comprehensive source of information is our website, swimteamthefilm.com, and we list all of the screenings that are coming up. We have news of everything that's happening, and we have a newsletter that you can sign up for so that we can keep you informed about, you know, when the DVD will be available, when it will be available for digital download, etc. But the most important event coming up is our broadcast October 2nd.
And that will be the entire film is screening, correct?
Well, actually,
interesting. I should ask that.
So this is on POV on PBS, and it is a shorter version of the film. It's what will be broadcast is 82 minutes, and the film that we screen theatrically and the DVD will be 100 minutes. So it is a shorter version on TV. I think it's still great. It's still you know, it still works. But if you want more, then come to a screening, or, you know, get the DVD when it's available, which will be very soon.
Okay, fabulous. And I just want to thank you. And in parting, what do you think is the single biggest thing that you want the audience to get from this?
Don't give up on your kid. I think that's a really important message of the film, and that's something that, you know, one of our characters says actually a couple of times. And, you know, all of our children, you know, they may not have extraordinary abilities, and this is a very important point. This is not a film about individuals with extraordinary abilities. This is a film about individuals with abilities who need some extra support. And I think, you know, that's the thing to keep in mind, is that your child can succeed at something that they're happy, you know, with doing, something that they love, and don't give up.
Wonderful. We love that message. What's next for you? Have you got plans for the next thing?
Well, I actually am touring with the film. And I'm available. So if somebody wants me to come and speak to their group with the film, I can bring members of the cast with me. We can do, you know, an interactive presentation, and we can work with you know, whatever an organization is interested in. So I've actually been doing that and enjoying it, and we'll probably continue to do it for a little bit.
I love that. And I want to say, I don't think it's a long shot. I think you're going to get a nom. I'm saying it here. And I've been right about this before. So I'm just saying that. I think you're going to get a nomination, and I hope you do. I think you deserve it. In any case, we want to thank you so much for being here and encourage people to check out on social media and find a screening near you. But of course, on October 7th, 2nd, I thought it said it different, October 2nd on PBS. Make sure that you're
10
there.
p.m.
10 p.m. Okay.
10 p.m.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Wonderful, wonderful film. You've got to see this film. And you know what? It's a great film to go with people who have family, you know, nobody on the spectrum. It's that kind of a film. A great one to share. We're going to take a break and be back to close out the show. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Johansson, and this is My Little House.
My Little House is an interactive, multi-sensory educational felt toy that I invented to help develop children's language skills.
I love My Little House. I've been working as a speech therapist for over 20 years. I have spent my entire career working with young children. I work with children with language delays, and I have many children with significant cognitive disabilities and children on the autism spectrum. It has been a constant challenge finding toys that are fun, educational, and actually engage my students. In every preschool, since I've been a young therapist, we carry on these felt boards. Kids love them because they're soft and they're fluffy, and there's usually these little pieces that attach to these boards because felt sticks onto felt. You bring them into the activity because they're putting a piece on the board. So it's almost kind of like magic. So then I just thought, wouldn't it be great if I could just take this one-dimensional board and make it into an actual three-dimensional toy? How cool would that be?
That's the idea behind My Little House. You can spread it out flat like a 4-panel felt board, or here's the cool part. In the blink of an eye, My Little House easily converts into a 3-dimensional reversible house.
This is the outside. This is the inside.
My Little House comes with 36 felt cutout pieces that match outlines in 8 colorful rooms. And they're felt, so they stick. Each piece inside My Little House has been placed with purpose.
For instance, in the kitchen, whole, half, under, on top, inside, big, bigger, and biggest, empty and full, circle, triangle, inside, outside.
Really cool thing, I have a nonprofit, Lecotech. They are the folks that put out the Differently Abled Guide for Toys R Us. They've been doing it for 25 years. They gave me their seal of approval as a toy that they feel is a toy with purpose, and that will make a difference. But My Little House isn't just for kids on the spectrum or with significant disorders. It's also for typically developing 2 to 5-year-olds. It's a fun toy.
This is so soft. That piece goes. Recently, I took My Little House to the American Speech and Hearing Association convention in Philadelphia, and the response from my peers was overwhelming. Hundreds of therapists, teachers, and heads of school districts wanted to order them.
It was real validation for me that this truly is a toy that needs to get out there.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod. I'm a proud autism mom, I'm a former educator, and I am the host of Autism Live. And as all 3 of those things, I want to recommend to you My Little House. This is one of the smartest toys I have ever seen for teaching language to kids who have emerging language. Whether they're on the autism spectrum or completely neurotypical, it's a great, fun, reinforcing toy, but it's especially great for our kids that are on the autism spectrum because it makes learning fun, and it makes it tactile. They have these felt shapes and they get to match them up. And I'm telling you, even the adults love to play with this. We loved this toy so much that we wanted to be able to bring it to you at a great discount. So right now, if you will go to www.smartfelttoys, and when you get to the coupon code, put in a-live.com, you'll get $5 off. Isn't that great? So I want to encourage you, go and get My Little House for all the kiddos in your life. Welcome back to Autism Live. So thrilled to be here. We're at the end of our time. I wanted to talk about a couple of quick things and then do our mindfulness moment. But I hate to bring up political things here on the show, but the fact of the matter is that we're at a little bit of a crossroads here today, and the next time we meet could be too late to talk about this. There is a bill that has been proposed and could come up for a vote as early as Monday in the Senate about health care. And I really want to encourage you to be informed. We're looking specifically at what some of the recommendations are from hospitals, from nurses, from insurance providers, and that they are saying that this bill could be catastrophic, that the people, that it puts the power back to the states, that it would leave it up to the states. I know there's a lot of doublespeak going on where we're hearing from people that it does provide for pre-existing conditions, but the fact of the matter is, if you read the language of the bill, it says that it would leave it up to the states. And so that is not a guarantee in any way, shape, or form, and there has been no language to date about explaining what would be put in provisionally if the states said we're not going to cover pre-existing conditions. And for those of us who have kids who are on the autism spectrum, this is dire. And this is being referred to as an all hands on deck moment, that people who I respect their opinion have said, you know what, if you don't say something between now and Monday to your senators in 4 years, when you are in a catastrophic situation and having to declare bankruptcy because of healthcare issues for your child, you're going to say, I wished I'd made that phone call. So I want to put that out to everybody. Call your senators and tell them, I am concerned. I have a child who's on the autism spectrum. We count on our insurance funding for the things that you count on it for, and let them know. Be educated. If you disagree with me and you love this bill, as long as it's coming from a place of where you know exactly what it is, and that you're not just listening to somebody like me on the news. Don't listen to me. Do some research for yourself. See which groups are supporting and which aren't, and the things that they're saying, but do some research yourself on the bill and then make yourself be heard. That is, we live in a country where that is what we do. We have an option to speak and tell our legislators what we think, so please take advantage of it. Having said that, it's time to talk about our mindfulness moment. And we can get in a place where, it's like healthcare, right? We squidge up, and it's important to be mindful. And so today we're talking about creating circles of 5. 5 is a magic number for a lot of different reasons. It's a prime number, but it's a really good number when we're making lists. Because 3 is, when you have more than one of something, it's great, right? When you have 3, you have a few, but when you have 5, you have abundance, right? So sometimes for folks who have a little bit of trouble settling into a meditative state, because it's like, what do I think of? And if I don't actively think of something, then a problem comes into my thought process, right? It's really hard to get mindful when you're doing that. So this is a gratitude mindful exercise that you can do with circles of 5, where you just make lists of things for 5. You think of 5 things that you're grateful for, 5 people that you love, 5 moments in your life that you cherish, 5 reasons why you're happy today, 5 things that you can do today to make a difference for yourself or for somebody else. And if you will sit down and breathe and think, and you can do as many of these as you like, or just focus on one. I sometimes like to focus on the 5 circle of gratitude, to sit and think of 5 reasons that I'm grateful. And boy, it's interesting how the breath just sort of centers and drops in and the blood pressure goes down, right? Or to think about 5 people that you love. And of course, you can think of a lot more than 5, but to think of 5 people that you love. Ooh, when you put that thought in your head, man, your breathing will change. And it's a way to be mindful. You know, with mindfulness, we're not just looking to have it be static white noise, right? If you can get yourself to the point where your brain, when your body can relax and you can just tune everything out, there's something to be said for that. But you can't always do that. And when we're talking about true mindfulness, we want to be aware of everything that's around us. And so sometimes we're so aware of that bad thing, right, that we're not seeing the big picture. So when you think of 5 reasons to be grateful, it pushes out the edges on your big world and goes, wow, there are 5 reasons to be grateful. And when you think of 5 people that you love, boy, that really pushes out the edges of things. And something horrible can be happening, but you're thinking, yes, but I love somebody, and I love somebody important. And that gives you the energy to face the things that are particularly pukey, right? So anyway, that's our mindfulness moment for the day. I want to say to you that next week on the show, we've got some really great things going on. We've got a gadget that you guys are going to love that we're going to be debuting on the show next week, Thursday, called Goalie, and you're absolutely going to love it. We also have the writer from the film So Be It that's going to be with us next Thursday. We're really excited about that. And we've got great guests that are going to be here with us during Let's Talk Autism. And while we don't have Dr. Grant Pichet next Wednesday, we will have Evelyn Kung is going to be with us to answer your questions, so we'll get some questions answered. And I want to remind you again that today is Rosh Hashanah, so we wish you Lashana Tova. And we also want you to know that it is International Peace Day, and that the United Nations has a project today for Peace Day that for 24 solid hours, they're playing messages of hope from dignitaries, scientists, artists, and leaders from around the world. And we're so proud and excited that Dr. Doreen Grant Pichet, I know her name, Dr. Grant Pichet, was included in that list of dignitaries and scientists. And so she has a message of hope that is playing on that channel today. If you have a chance, tune into the UN's channel to see all the messages of hope. But if you'd like to see what Dr. Grant Pichet, the message that she had of hope and peace as it relates to autism, you can check that out on our YouTube page today, and it will be up for the foreseeable future. I wish all of you peace today and every day. We will be back next week. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.